let's see if this stream is any better. That was kind of a nightmare for a minute. All right, so hopefully we're not going to have any more buffering issues. Turned off recording, and we're going to get back to it. So, we're back working on this console for Powerboat Italia. This is the old console that somebody won in our auction. What I just finished doing in the last video was these joysticks were originally just up and down, so I've been soldering the left and right so that the person who is picking this up can use the left and the right on the joystick, because otherwise they're not wired up. This is on right now, which is okay. I tested all the inputs, they all work, but because I'm going to be connecting things to it, I'm just going to unplug this, and then we'll plug it in later to test. But for the moment, what I need to do right now is starting maybe here. I'm going to be connecting wires from each joystick, left and right, which are these opposite pins, to the iPack. So let's see. Oh, hey, analog video. What's happening? Battling some streaming issues today, but I think we're in good shape now. So let's start going again. I don't want to use purple or blue because I want to distinguish these wires. So let me dig out another color. Let's see, I've got a lot of white, which might be the right move here. Hey, excellent. Thank you, Monkey Burner. It was the recording. You know, you can't just record and stream at the same time unless you have a lot of disk space. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out some white wire. That's going to start here, and it's going to go over to here. Let me see if I can get a wider view of this, show you what I'm doing. So I've got 4 pins on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 pins on this side. Otherwise, we've used almost all the inputs on here. So I'm going to wire up this joystick to the first 2 and this joystick to the next 2, and then I'll do the same thing on the other side. So first things first, let's use this pin. This is our farthest pin. I'm going to give myself a little bit of slack because I don't want this to be too tight. And we're going to strip both ends. And luckily I only have to solder on one side. All right. It's funny, it looks like I bent these pins a long time ago. Probably because they are a little bit in the way, but let's see if I can solder it. Little bit of corrosion on this one. I expected a lot more corrosion, being that this thing was outside for so long, but I think we're going to be okay. And then, nope. Aha! It did not solder. Let's try that again. All right, cool. I'm going to fish this under these other wires just so it's not going to get in the way of my joystick's performance here. And take a little screwdriver. Just going to clamp that in there. Cool. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. Let's see, is this long enough? This is long enough. Somebody just sent me an email about some bars that sued New York State to reopen, which sucks that we have to be in this position, but might mean that we can open again. So that's interesting news. I don't know if it's good news that you have to sue the governor, but we get a couple more details. We had kind of planned to be closed until the restrictions were lifted. So we'll see what happens. Hard to be a bar. Television studio, not so hard. All right, so we've got all 4 directions on this guy wired up. I'm going to move on to this one. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to run 2 wires, one from this switch up to the iPack and one from the switch. These wires can be much shorter. So let's see. Get myself some more wire. So this might be a little bit easier. We're going to go from here to about here. I'm going to give myself a little bit of extra length so I don't have to worry about this wire being short. Strip both of the ends. Here. The nice thing about this is I only have to solder one side rather than both sides. Cool. Pop it in there. All right. Moving pretty quick now. Let's do the other one. We're going to go from here. This is pretty short. Right up to here. Cut this. And snip the ends. Still a no-go in New York. That lawsuit was good for Buffalo? Erie? Yeah. All right. Well, Wonderville is a streaming studio until further notice. All right. Cool. Interesting enough, I pulled out another wire, so after I feed this one in, I'm going to have to figure out what popped out. And it was probably, am I streaming from the arcade? Actually, I am upstairs in the lofted area that was formerly our sound booth, but is now an electronics workbench. We spent part of 2020 kind of renovating so that we could do arcade repair on site. So the sound booth is also an electronics workshop. So you could probably. There's the gallery down there. There's the rest of this room. We had a laser cutter up here for a while, but we had to return it. We were just holding on to it for someone. But yeah, this is now this kind of, this side of the upstairs. So I'm going to be running this workshop series like every Thursday, and I'll have different projects going on. So if you're interested in anything in particular related to electronics and arcade stuff, let me know. We have some projects in the pipeline, and since the bar's closed, we may as well work on them. Cool. All right, so let's move to the other side. 2 more joysticks to go. Player 2, player 1. Remember, this is backwards because this is upside down. So I'm going to solder 2 wires from this and 2 wires from this. Earlier, I cleaned these up a little bit. These had restrictor plates on them, so they were only restricted to up and down. So now they move in every direction, and I just have to add wires to get them to this input board, which is here. Yeah, so let's start here. I've got a little length of white wire left. Let's see if I can reach from here. Yeah, this is about perfect. And again, this is the old console from Powerboat Italia that we replaced in 2019, but we've had it in storage for a long time. So someone at the auction bid on it, and I'm just fixing it up for them. His name is Carlos. Thank you, Carlos, for buying this, bidding on this. Yeah, between the auction and the fundraiser, it was really amazing. We raised $40,000, which is super helpful. As you probably know, bars are it's really tough to be a bar and an event space. So we're trying to use some of that money for rent and utilities. He said he's probably going to use it as a MAME console, multi-arcade machine emulator. So I felt like I should give him a left and a right on most of these joysticks, because he's probably not going to be able to play many games if he can only move up and down. What's cool about this board is you can program all of these wires to be different key presses. So probably I'll just give it to him with the existing inputs, and then if he wants to reprogram it, he can open up software and just you know, change the keys, which is great. All right, so let's see, 3 more wires. This one is going to go from here to there. Give myself a little extra length. Strip the ends. It's funny, we're up in the sound booth in Wonderville, and like the train passes overhead, and you can kind of hear it through the wall. I don't know if you can hear it on the stream, but it's funny to be like working here, and just every so often, just this rumble right above your head. I'm gonna fish this over here. We'll go into this next input. These buttons up here are a little loose. I'll probably have to tackle those at the end. Forget. Let's tighten them now. All right, 2 more, and then we can do some testing. So let's go from here all the way over to here. Cut that off. Cool. Nice thing about this board too is it's all screw terminals, so if I wanted to move these wires around for any reason, I can just unscrew them and flip them around. Not so bad. Okay, 1 more to go. It's going to be about that long. To be careful I'm not touching this other pin. Basically, there's, on these all buttons, there is a pin that's always on until you press the button, and there's a pin that's only on when you press the button. And if I accidentally have like a stray wire connecting them together, then my input is going to be always on all the time, and that's not good. So I got to be careful that I don't have like stray pieces of wire that can bridge those 2 pins. Most of them are far enough apart that I think will be okay, but I'm just going to double check now that I'm thinking about it that I don't have anything that's even close. Cool. I think we're okay. So pop that in there. And screw that in. And I think now we're going to be in good shape. What I might do is just zip tie some of these, even though some of these old purple wires are really, really taut, and I don't think I need to. Just don't really want to have too much of a mess here. What I might do is flip this over. Let me think. Is there anything left to do on this side before I flip it over? Tightened all these buttons are pressed. Let's just make sure I don't get any errors when I plug this in. So this green light is on, which is a good sign. On this particular board, which is the iPack from Ultimark, if there's an error, this green LED will blink a certain number of times. And so if I've got anything, like if I've got an input that's just stuck on all the time, this will blink an error code. There's also error codes for like, I don't know them off the top of my head, but sometimes the board is bad. It can't read from the board, so there's an error code for that. The iPack, this version of it is pretty old. This is a PS2, which I'll just kind of show you. It's like that connector, right? If any of you were alive in the 80s for computers, this is what your keyboard and mouse used. So it's not great. These pins, they bend really easily, so I have to be really careful when I plug this in. It does have a pass-through, so if I wanted to like read this into another thing, I could do that. But if you're going to buy an iPack today, you're not going to get a PS2 iPack. You're going to get a USB. I probably have one I can show. Let's see. Nope, I have another PS2. Oh well, it's fine. Yeah, I think they sold these up until like, let's see, we built this in 2014. Probably 2016 is when they started converting these to USB. Yeah, Ultimark. They sell a lot of arcade stuff, and it works most of the time. They're fine. I'm not going to say they're great. They're fine. We've been using their stuff for a long time. Stuff wears out, but overall, they haven't given us too many problems. But they seem to have kind of, stranglehold. Is that the word on the arcade input market? So, yeah, somebody make a new interface board. Another thing I'm gonna do, just while I'm here, is like this cable. I'm gonna actually feed in between these switches because kind of want this to be like maybe a little more permanent here. And I might, let me see, if I have something, I might just kind of like strap it down just so I don't have to worry about it coming undone on the inside. I can also like zip tie it around one of these buttons. That might be a good way to go. Just because like, any sort of torque or something is gonna maybe damage this cable. Let's see what we got here. Zip ties are real long. How about a short one? Medium length. just going to take a super long zip tie and cut it. So I don't really have anything in between. I don't have a lot of zip ties. Ben Shapiro. Nah. In one instance, Ben Shapiro was actually right about something. Okay, so I'm going to zip tie this cable to this button just to alleviate any sort of tension or stress on it. Okay. Cool. And I think we're done soldering. So I'm just going to kind of put some of this stuff away. This is garbage. Save these. All right, let's flip it over, and we're going to see how it works. All right, so this is still plugged in, so I'm going to be careful because I don't want anything to really trigger. I also have a really low ceiling in here, so I'm going to be really careful. All right. There's also some old screws in here that I'm going to pop out because I'm probably going to have to redo this anyway. Okay. So, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to pull up a little text editor, and I'm going to see if these actually do press keys. First of all, let me open a text editor. So this little board that I am using just maps buttons and joysticks to key presses, which is nice and handy. Just add a new source. Window capture here. Add source. And let's get my there you are. Hey. All right. That's real big. I'll shrink that down a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go through each input and see if it outputs something on the text editor. Now, I need to be really careful because some of these might not be evident, right? Like if I have a shift or a control, I don't know if I'm going to see it in the text editor. Let's make this font real big. See it. All right. How's that? Cool. Okay. All right, so we're going to go through one input at a time. There's 32 of them, so I should see 32 different keys. So, first of all, player one. Up, down, left, right. Not seeing anything on the right. That doesn't necessarily mean it's broken. Wait a minute. This might be return. It looks like I've created a bunch more space. So let me just test that theory. Yeah. Okay, so this is return. Okay. Player 1 buttons. Cool. Okay. Player 1 looks to be in pretty good shape. The joystick does not feel great, but that's fine. I'm gonna clean it up a little bit later, but let's get rid of all this crap. I also might have duplicate keys, so we're gonna test that in the iPack software. I just testing this to see if this works. So let's do player 2, up, down, left, nothing. But I am getting something in my, let's see. This might be like up or down. No. It's not clear what left is, but it's doing something. So I'll look at that in the iPack. Cool. That's all working. Player 3. Up, down. That's tab. All right, so the right is also something that not really clear what it is, but it's doing something. Okay. And let's try this one. Okay. Up, down, left, right, and the 3 buttons are good. Cool. And then let's just check these start buttons at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Okay. So it looks to me like my input test is pretty good. There's a couple directions I'm not really sure what they are, but I'm getting something. So let's open up the iPack interface instead. I'm going to close text edit. And back iPack. All right, where are you at? Let's get rid of this. Get rid of this. And I'll start a new window capture. There we go. All right, so this is the iPack interface. You're right, 2 is a duplicate. This is going to tell me in a much easier way, like what my duplicates are. So, first of all, what I'm going to do is I have to identify my board. Let's see here. Awesome. So, it's funny. Player 1 up is also player 1 down. They're both mapped to 0, which that's not great. I'm going to make this an up arrow, and I'm going to make this the down arrow. And I want to just make sure that... Oh, right, because left and right were not originally mapped. So these actually aren't in the left and right joystick inputs. I had to wire them to a different input. So when I press left, this is actually all the way down here. So I'm going to make this the left arrow, and this the right arrow. All right, so I don't know what these are just yet, but I'll have to change them in a minute. Cool. this is probably up. So I'm going to turn... Okay, I've got 3 buttons mapped to up arrow. I'm just going to make this 0 for now. Let's also make this 0. Okay, so this is 1, switch 1. I'm going to make these IJK, I think. Let's see. I guess it doesn't really matter what these are. Like, he can remap them. I just want to make sure we start out with the right things. Let's move over to player 2. I see. Right, because we weren't using left and right, so what this says it is actually not very accurate. So I think maybe the best thing to do here is just remove all the duplicates, right? And I'm going to let him kind of map these. So, let's see. This should be an up arrow. This should not. This should be maybe, let's say, 8. All right. Also in player 2, I want to make sure I'm not seeing these anywhere, and I'm not. That's good. This is Z, which is showing up in a lot of places. So let's see if I can remove Z. I'm going to make these... I want to use WASD. IJKL should also be player 3. Let's just go right across the bottom, ZXCVBNM, comma, period. And that'll be ZXCVBNM, comma, period. And we'll work out the rest with whatever is here. I just need to make a system for this, so I'm not using the same keys. I'm also going to keep 1, 2, 3, 4 across the top, so the rest of my numbers I have available. But whatever I do, I need to remember what that is, so that I'm not reusing the same keys. So player 1, up, down, left, right, WASD for player 2, IJKL for player 3, and then maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 for player 4 for directions. So let's do those first. This will be easy. Once I get my directions out of the way, I think the rest of this will kind of fall into place. So player 2, we're going to do W. Yeah. W. Uh-oh, I'm not getting any input for left. That's no good. So this is my A. Let's go through the rest of this, and we'll flip it over, and we'll see what's up. This is my down. This is going to be S. And then this is my D. Okay. Yeah, the tabs actually don't mean anything, and I'll tell you why. They are programming this according to the pins on the iPack itself, and when I flip it over, I'll show you. Basically, all of these buttons for player 1 and player 2 are on the player 1 side, and player 3 and player 4 are all on the player 2 side. We actually only have a 2-player iPack board, so I don't even have a 3 or 4. It's funny, we're kind of working against the software a little bit because we have a total of 32 inputs, and this iPack thinks we're only using 2 players, but we're actually going to use all 4 players. So don't really pay attention to what this is. As long as these are mapped to the right places. So the up, even though it says left here, I know this is 2-player up, and so I'm going to set it to W. And my down is S. And then my D is right. So it doesn't matter that this says coin. This is just what the iPack says it is in the software. But I'm not going to actually worry about it. So W, S, D, and my A doesn't work. So player 2 left, I have to look at. So I'm just going to remember that. One input I'm not getting at all. Let's go to player 3. Now, this should be all on the player 2 side. Let's just see. Up, yeah. Down, left, right. So for up, this is going to be I. Down is going to be K. Left is going to be J. And right is going to be L. Okay. And I'm going to make this just 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. There's my return. And this is my 8 here. Okay. Up, down, right, left. Up, down, right, left. Cool. Where is this? This is on player 1. Interesting. This was mapped to 1 before, but maybe I accidentally remapped it. Let's just see. It's 2. It's weird that these all got changed, but it should be okay. And that's 4. Okay, so player 1 is a 1, player 2 is a 2, it's a little sticky. Player 3 is a 3, player 4 is a 4. Good, okay. So now I'm going to go across the bottom, and we're going to map these to basically the bottom row of keys, starting at Z, ending at period. Although I'm only going to get to player 3, and then we're going to switch it. So let's see. What are you? You are 8. You're going to now be Z. I think you are the X. Oh, weird. Hitting you again. Aha, there's a lot of Z's. That's cool. That should be the Z. Oh, so many Z's. All right. All right, so okay, I think the move here is to just make these all something else until I figure out what these are. ZXC. This should probably be the X. ZXC. Let's see. If this feels like I went in order, it should be switch 1, switch 2, switch 3. ZXC. And then these two are wrong. So let's keep on going. This will be V. This will be B. And this will be N. All right, so here we go. Z, X, C, V, B, N. Okay. Cool. Feels good. Let's check player 2. Anything over here? I have an extra Z and an X. We'll fix those in a minute. All right, so now here, we're going to start M. This is an M. This is going to be our comma. And this will be our period. M, comma, period. For some reason they're backwards. Okay. Okay, now I need 3 more unused keys for player 4. Let's do Q, E, R. I think are not being used. So this will be Q. This will be E. And this will be R. Okay, so let's start on the player 1 side. I'm just going to go through and make sure all my stuff is mapped to one thing only. Up, down, left, right. Z, X, C. W, S, A is broken. D, V, B, N. Flip this tab. I, K, J, L, M, comma, period. And then 5, 6, 7. That should be an 8. Q, E, R. Do I have another 8? Is that the problem? I don't think so. And then let's just make sure player 1, player 2. Player 2 is a little sticky. I'll spray that. Player 3, player 4. Okay, so I gotta squirt some WD-40 in player 2, and I've gotta fix my player to left. But in other ways, we're in pretty good shape. I'm gonna be back in 1 minute because I think our heat shut off, and it's getting a little chilly in here. So give me 5 minutes, and I will return. All right. So let's go back to the other side here. Player 2 left is the one that's busted. So we're going to flip this over again carefully. And we're going to take a look at player 2. Left, which is plugged into 1 start. So let's see. 1 start is here. There's nothing. This was just empty. And now it works. I had it set to nothing, so when I pressed it, nothing happened. So that's that. And then the last thing I'm going to do here is pop out. It's funny, this is the one I used to zip tie. Is that the problem? Is the zip tie the issue? Could be. Yeah, it's the zip tie. Okay, so when I put the zip tie on here, this is actually what broke. So I'm going to cut the zip tie off. That is not a great idea because I don't want that to interfere with this button. I think it kind of pulled that cable underneath, and that was really what broke it. So let's see. I might be able to just kind of like staple this down or something, although maybe it'll be okay. I'd rather have it not interfere than have it be too problematic. These feel a lot better without the zip tie there, so I'm going to leave it off. Okay. We're in good shape. So everything's programmed now. This iPack saves its states, which is great. I don't have to press program. As soon as I adjust these drop-down menus, they are set. Again, right, I'm just making sure each of these inputs work and are set to different keys. And so I will tell Carlos when he picks this up to just download the same software. He can remap these buttons and joysticks to whatever he wants and use them, for whatever he wants. So I'm going to close this. And I think the last thing we have to do is just kind of close this case and get it ready to go. So let's see. As you've probably noticed, I've been flipping the top of this over, which is convenient for today, but it's not convenient for having this console at home. I'm going to unplug the USB because I think we're done. I think our electrical test is good. And now, let me see about, flipping, basically affixing this. This is basically a wooden box, and what I was doing before was just screwing this into the wood, which is fine, but maybe we could do better. Let me see what we can do here. We have holes already in the console, and I think I can maybe use them. It might be nice to just be able to unscrew this and get inside if Carlos needs to. So let's see. I have these same screws that came out. Let me pop them back in and just see how well this fits together. This was one of our earlier builds, so it's not a great one. But I think, this thing's not going to live in a bar. I think he'll probably keep it relatively stationary, so let me try and screw it together and see if it holds. Okay. Now, let's see. I'm just going to use not terribly decorative screws back here. These have been so beat up that I don't even think regular wood screws are going to work. So let me see what I've got up here in terms of washers. You might be able to use kind of like a nice big washer to hold this down, and the acrylic here has been cracked, so it's not, it's not going to be pretty, but I think as long as the box holds together, that's all it really needs to do. And yeah, I think structurally, as long as I can pick this up, and these screws are already kind of coming loose because it's just so old. thing about the Powerboats console, and I'll show you this in a minute, is there's not really a front or a back. So it's a little less structural than the other cabinets. And the reason for that is there is this beautiful laser cut Powerboat on the front. If you've ever seen this cabinet, you've probably noticed this like light up Powerboat decal, right? So that's made out of acrylic, but it's not actually providing any structural integrity to this box. So, you know, everything is being held together on the sides. Also, you know, the back has some support, but it's not actually affixed, which maybe if I were building this again, and we did this on the new console, this actually hinges up in the front, and there's 2 hinges on the back side, so that if we ever needed to work on it, we could just flip this open and work on it. Now, Carlos shouldn't ever need to open this because, you know, it's already kind of working. I just tested all of the inputs, so I think we'll be in pretty good shape as long as this thing is put together. Let me pop in one more screw here, and we'll just see if this holds. I'm going to do the same thing with a kind of a nice fender washer here. So, feel good about it. I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup on the top. Everything should be working. All the buttons work. So, yeah, I think we're good to go. You know, obviously, if this were a build I was doing today, I would do a lot of things different. This is pretty old and pretty sloppy, but you know, it worked for a long time. This cabinet lived at Death by Audio. It was one of the 4, maybe 3 cabinets we actually built while we were at Death by Audio. And there's some really good photos of us like in the back of Death by Audio, screen printing. I don't know if you can tell, but like this whole console was screen printed, and we built this in particle mace at the same time. So if you're familiar with particle mace and you've seen like the screen printed art, that was because there was a screen printing studio at Death by Audio, and we were able to do that. So, you know, it was fun in the early days where we didn't know what was going to happen, and we were just kind of like building stuff without knowing anything. I'm just going to lift this camera up so I can clean under it. This was before we knew about like decals or anything, so we weren't like ordering graphics or getting anything printed. Everything was super DIY. All right. So I think that about wraps this today's workbench. I'm going to be doing this every Thursday. I'm going to be working on something related to Wonderville or arcade cabinets. Also, Alan Riley, our kind of resident video artist, is going to poke around with some CRTs. So there's going to be some interesting stuff happening on Thursdays. So if you like this stuff, join us on Thursdays. Like and subscribe. There's going to be a lot more stuff happening on the Wonderville Twitch as well. We've got tabletop nights coming up. on Wednesdays. Fort 90 film series is happening on Mondays. So, yeah, we're going to try and get some active events here on Twitch. So check back, and until the bar opens again, we'll just see you here online. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.